everyone. This is Gregory Paquette with CentralReach. We are going to get started in just a couple minutes. Just wanted to just confirm if anyone can let me know that they can hear me okay. Just type in the question panel that you can hear me and that you can see my PowerPoint on the screen as well. All right, guys. Well, I don't want to hold this up. People are joining, but we got a jam-packed hour here. It's hopefully going to be a good presentation for you guys. So we're going to go ahead and get started. If at any time you cannot hear me, right? If I cut out, please let me know. Type a little response in the questions panel. If you can't see my screen, please let me know as well. So we're going to get started. I am your host today, Greg Paquette, and I see a lot of you guys that I have had the pleasure of working with throughout your onboarding and your implementation and your journey in CentralReach, your life cycle. So what I do here is I help onboard mostly the clinical groups, a little bit of the practice management as well. I talk with users after they roll out, make sure everything's going smoothly, work to get feedback on features, and make sure everything we have in the system is what you guys need. And then, of course, I do these webinars. We have an hour-long webinar today, so we will go to the end of the hour, and we, like I said, have a jam-packed little presentation here. All right, so without further ado, just a couple administrative items. You can see the agenda on the page, so I'll go through that in just a second. I will flip back and forth between CentralReach and the PowerPoint a little bit. I will ask for any questions throughout, usually after each little sequence, each little section that I'm presenting on. I'll ask for any feedback, any questions, and I will try to get to questions as we go as well. So I will check, and if if your question is not answered, I'll do my best to answer it timely or at the end, okay? Now, this webinar here is a clinical overview on the notes and forms, right? Notes and forms are our documentation module in the system. You can do anything from a policy form to a permission slip for parent signatures, IEP documents, meeting notes, progress report, intake forms, etc., BIPs, FBAs. We're going to go over kind of tips and tricks today. Okay, some of you are newer users and some of you are experts and have been using it for a very long time. I'm hopefully going to be able to paint you a nice little picture of some ease of use strategies when we're talking about specifically in progress reports and treatment plans is what we're really going to focus on here today. I hope that you will learn at least one thing. Again, a lot of you are pros, and I will cover some basics, but then also use some best practice tips that myself and a lot of my other clinical colleagues at CentralReach, like to work on with our users. Okay, so today's agenda, right? We are going to sample a few finished products. Finished products meaning that I have ran an FBA in the system. I have also completed a progress report in the system. I'm going to show you what your stuff can look like. If you are newer to the system, a lot of people probably told you, yeah, we can get your report in, it's going to look so beautiful. You're going to have, the capabilities to run everything that you want. All of that's true, okay? So I'm going to show you some finished products, but then with the secondary issue of, right, how did we get it to look like this, right? Where do we house information in the system in many different places for easy pulling into reports? Every payer is so different, right? They're requiring all sorts of things, medical information, right? Whether it's an initial treatment plan or then a follow-up 6-month or a year progress report, right? Medical information, crisis information, crisis plan, a behavior support plan built in to a treatment plan, right? They're going to want graphs and data and narratives. And what happens is a lot of these payers expect you to do a wonderful report, that takes you 5 hours and they might pay you for 1, right? And that's always frustrating. So we want to get your stuff in the system, and this exercise here that we do today, hopefully will just give you some hints at streamlining. I want to take that 3-hour report and I want to get it to 30 minutes. I want you to be able to open up a report in CentralReach and complete it in 30 minutes. And how that's able to be accomplished is by housing information certain places and then pulling it in automatically. Okay, we're going to go through some customization, some time saving. I'll talk a lot about sectioning your reports so that you can have one large progress report and cut out different sections depending on your funder. Narrative portions, streamlining that, and then of course the data and the graphic portions of reports, we're going to talk a lot about that and how to customize. One exercise I'm going to do in the second half is I'm actually going to take a Microsoft Word document of how a lot of my users, a lot of you guys like to have your treatment goals in a progress report and how you like them to pull and what a lot of funding sources are asking for. We're going to pull that up and we're going to go through how to make that in the system. Okay, and then of course we're going to complete one, and I'm going to complete it in 10 minutes. Okay, all right, so here we go. Let's just see if I have anything else to show. All right, cool. So we're actually gonna dive into CentralReach here. So give me a sec. I'm gonna hide my screen while I get to my other window, and then we're gonna rock and roll. Bear with me. Maneuvering a lot here. Okay, and then let's get my screen. Okay, and then can someone just confirm that you can see my CentralReach screen? And then we'll be off to the races. Are we good? Hoping we get confirmation there. So I'm just going to proceed like everyone can see my screen. Awesome. All right, cool. All right, so like I said, finished products. Okay, I'm going to go through an FBA and I'm going to go through a progress report. Okay, so first up, I have an FBA I completed in the system. So we're going to spend the next 5 minutes going over the finished products. And these, of course, are not your documents, they're mine. But it's important to know what it could look like. All right, so I'm going to download this, and I ran this last night. And I'm just going to pull up a FBA, right? A lot of you guys do this, a behavior support plan, management guidelines, an FA, a functional behavior assessment report. This is just my example, okay? Now, I want you to look at a few things. It's formatted nicely. It houses a lot of great information, and it pulls in both demographic and clinical, okay? So we're going to go through how to get it look something like this. As I scroll through, again, this is just to kind of get your mind working on what could be done in the system. I have background information, and I'm going to tell you where to house that so you don't have to write it on the fly. Reason for referral, another piece of information that you can house in the system and have it pull to your report. Okay, now I didn't, fill this out 100%. I wrote short sentences, but just look at the different sections, the page numbers, right? The formatting. This is all information that is very, very easy to create in the system. Okay, so again, this is just a sample FBA. This is an example that, let's say you've been working with the individual for a while and they call you into the school to complete an FBA, right? Since you've been completing data in the CentralReach system, you have your target behaviors, right? I have duration of tantrum, I have hitting, and I have operational definitions here. These pulled automatically, and when I run one for you and when I show you where this stuff comes from, you're going to see the time saving, okay? Just again, we're just scrolling very quickly through this just to show you the sections. And I'm going to show you when we create one, how to format this for your needs, okay? And again, I have direct observations, which is typical in an FBA procedure. We have current levels. Again, if you are completing an assessment like this after running data in CentralReach, use that data, right? Pull these graphs into your FBAs. It makes them that much more powerful than just doing it on Microsoft Word without any images. Okay, I also have here ABC graphs. And again, you've taken all that wonderful information throughout the reporting period. You might as well pull it in, right? So there's what an ABC graph in CentralReach looks like. There's many different views, but just highlighting that. Then there's a scatter plot of that behavior that you're tracking in this FBA, and that pulls nicely into the report as well. Okay, so a nice customized document. Just wanted to show you that example. Now the second example, hopefully this looks a little bit like the stuff that you guys are providing to your funding sources, is I have a progress report. Okay, now this is based off of Florida Insurance. It used to be Beacon, now it's EQ Health, and we have that in the system. We have a bunch of different templates in the system for everyone. Okay, so if you see that this looks like a EQ Health report, it is with a few little twists that I put in. Okay, now again, let's just take a minute to look at what could pull, and I'm going to highlight what pulled automatically. Okay, and then we're going to go over in the next few minutes where to house this information so that you can quickly write a report. Okay, so as you see, this one's very long. This report here is extremely long, 24 pages, because this insurer is asking for everything they possibly could. Okay, so we have the demographic information. I didn't spend a second filling this in because it's housed in the system. Okay, we have our diagnosis. I didn't spend an ounce of time putting that in because it's housed in the system. And then I have nice organized sections with check boxes, and this goes all the way down. Medical history, allergies are something that you can pull into the system. Name of doctors you can pull into your progress reports, no problem at all. Okay, now this report goes into biopsychosocial. Okay, it goes into, I skipped a page there, but it goes into education and placements. So something like this, Matt received first early intervention services. Again, that's housed in the system. I did not write this while filling out this report. Okay, and I'm just going to scroll down and show you again. Hopefully this opens up, your eyes into what other folks are having to report in all their documentations. Okay, current concerns, right? We can pull in the VB map into the report if you do utilize our VB map. Okay, preference assessment, progress, right, and then treatment goals. We're going to go into this a lot. Okay, so this report that I'm showing you here, again, mastery criteria can pull to your report, goal summary, rationale, and of course all your data you need. Now one cool thing, and this is the first little hint, is that I'm going to teach you how to make your graphs smaller. A lot of people say, well, I have 2 graphs per page and they're huge, or 1 graph fits on a page. You can make them in a little box and then they show up smaller on your report. Okay, so without further ado, without any more delay, I'm going to kind of walk you through where do you house your information and what information can you house. Okay, so let's take a peek real quick at the basics. Okay, I want to never spend time having my consultants, my BCBAs, my practitioners start digging through records for doctor information and address and all that. Okay, so the first place that you're going to want to start housing a lot of information is the basics, right? Let's take it back to the basics. Anything in this little module, right? We're going to spend 10 minutes on where to house your information, and then we're going to spend 10 minutes actually showing you where to put this stuff in your report templates, okay? But the basics, anything you want here can pull to reports, so utilize that, okay? Next up, payer information. Any insurance and payer information that you need in reports, session notes, prog reports, initial treatment plans, use it to your advantage. Someone is already putting in, your intake coordinator, right? Your scheduler, they're already getting that information at the beginning, and you can house it and pull it into reports. One underutilized situation and feature that we have is we have this health record system. Not all users know about this, but if you provide in schools, if you provide at summer camps, if you provide in residential homes, you're going to need to track a lot of this, right? Medications. If I put my medications here, I can pull it to progress reports, right? Allergies. In my allergies section, I can put all this information and pull that into reports as well. All right, and then lastly, things like exercise. Exercise, you can add readings here and pull it into your reports very easily. So utilize this health section here to be able to pull it to your reports a little later. Okay, so the next place that you really need to get familiar with is metadata. So we have all these information, right? Health, additional contacts, payers, basics. That's what we give you. But if there's ever anything else you need in CentralReach to house, you guys can do it in metadata. So if you see here, these fields are things that your agency can customize for your needs, right? So family information, you bet that you're going to have to put that information on a treatment plan, right? So write it here at the beginning of your treatment and then run it later, and it's going to be there for every further progress report. Diagnostic information. I can type a nice long field here and then never have to deal with it again. So my advice is to have fields that your consultants can put information in. Now, one tip, and hopefully you guys know this for some of our older users, is you make a little group. I have a little metadata field that's called progress reporting. So I can send my consultants or my BCBAs one place, and they can fill out all the information here that's going to go to progress reports later, right? So things like first assessment, you only need to put that in once, right? Previous services, there's only, if you're providing now, the previous services are locked in, right? School background information, you can change this anytime the child changes schools. And of course, reason for first referral. These things are set here, and you can give your consultants access to, and I say consultants, practitioner, BCBA, supervisor interchangeably, but you can put this information here and then have it pulled to your reports. Now, if you don't want your folks to use the metadata, right? Maybe you keep that for administrative and not for clinical, then that's cool. You have a second place that you can do it. The second place to put this pertinent information to pull to progress reports is in your learning tree. So the learning tree is traditionally for your goals, your objectives, your data, and your graphs. But a lot more users, and talking with a lot of our larger organizations lately, is they build templates and they keep this information here. So if I go into Matt's program book, I have a client information section. In this client information section, I have all this stuff. It's here so that my BCBA, who's always in this book and always out there for supervision and always talking to the families, they can put a lot of this information in over time so that it streamlines the process later. So for example, right, my reason for referral, there it is in the top right corner, right? The initial referral was made at some Sunshine Center, right? My medical necessity, right? If I click medical necessity, there it is. So what happens is, if anything changes throughout the treatment plan interval, you come in, right? Matt is making substantial progress across many domains. Strengths include this, and here are his current concerns. So I can always add here during supervision visits, and this stuff pulls to your report. Now, what a lot of users are doing now is, instead of having the onus be on the consultant to put this stuff in, they're making it easy. We are a behavior analytic group, right? We like prompts. Well, sometimes we like them. We don't want to become too prompt dependent, but it's easy in a system like this to prompt your folks to do the right thing, okay? And what I mean by that is, a lot of users are having a little template already made with prompts. So for example, when I get a new case, I come to my client information section and I add from my library a little template, and I literally have it called client information for progress reports. And these are the fields that I already have in mind, but they have prompts. So watch this. If I click a couple for you, medical necessity, and discharge, these are going to prompt the clinician to write something, and it makes it easy for them, and it gives the agency their control over what they need. So these are the two that I added. So look at medical necessity for a second. It has a prompt, right? Name has a diagnosis, right? Name here by X date, right? These are prompts that help you fill in the information and pull to your progress reports nicely. Okay, so some other things real quick, and I'll take questions in just a second. Some other things that I like to pull to progress reports that a lot of funders are requiring these days are things like rationale, right, or ultimate goals, right, or operational definitions. So one thing that's utilized by a lot of our organizations is if you have some behaviors here. So let's take hitting, for example. All right, so I have a hitting graph. I've taken data. That's great. I'm going to pull the graph eventually. But I also, in my description box, have my operational definition. So this is great for two reasons or three reasons. One, it's in the log. It's in your learning tree. It's always available for those who need it. This description on this branch can pull into data sheets, so your techs get it when they need it, right? And then third, this description box can pull into progress reports, and I'm going to show you how. So that's a very important use of this description box, okay? Another thing, mastery criteria. Mastery criteria right here, either on the target or on the goal itself. You can put in mastery criteria right here, and that will pull into progress reports. Okay, now one other information that I like to go over is for behaviors especially. So let me X out and kind of show you from scratch. A lot of insurances are requiring functions of behaviors, mastery criteria, responsibility. Is it parent or is it the peer? Is it the, not the peer, the client themselves or the staff? So what I do is I go to my goal, and what I do is I update this, right? It's in a certain domain, it's a sensory function, and responsibility. Is it the parent or the service provider? These are fields, again, this goal details tab that you can pull to progress reports, okay? Now, let's go to a short-term objective, tacting common objects. So what a lot of users do is they put kind of a basic title for their program, right? Yeah, the area is communication or the area is tacting, labeling, right? But this is my program, right? My program. That's not a whole defined, measurable goal, is it? It's just tacting common objects. But a lot of reports need a defined goal. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in here, right? And you can come in and you can put a program goal. So using this program goal spot will pull a nice definition with measurable criteria to your progress report, okay? Other things are generalization and baseline. Okay, so those are a few things that are very important. So you have your basics, you have your health, you have your metadata grouped into sections to pull the reports, and now you have all this learning tree information, branches that have information. It's really cool and really easy to use. Okay, now the key here is fill this stuff out at the beginning of treatment, fill it out ongoing, utilize those supervision visits to have your folks fill it out so it saves time when it comes to reports. Okay, all right, so next up, I'm going to get rid of a couple of these windows. Next up is I'm actually going to go in and we're going to set up a note together. Okay, so I have a little placeholder here, and I'm actually going to create a progress report with you guys. Okay, so any questions so far about where to house information before I give you some tips on how to set it up on the back end? All right, so type if you have any. All right, so this isn't meant to be a whole notes and forms training. This is meant to be an overview and tips and tricks, okay? So what I'm gonna do now is I am actually going to use sections that are already made to develop a progress report for you. And hopefully you take some of this and it works for you and it helps you. Okay, so I just have a little blank template that I started with. Okay, and I'm going to show you some of those pieces of information that we just went over and how you'd customize your report. Okay, so a lot of people are going to put a logo. This is going to be a demographics page, right? And a lot of people already know you can pull in a lot of these basics, right? Those are those basics we went over, right? Date of birth. And again, you can pull in things like, you know, the health, the allergies, right? And you can customize, you know, you can customize how you want your allergies to populate. So if I want, you know, just the name of my allergy, I can just type it in. Okay, and now that's going to pull in. But really important stuff is that background information, guys. So again, utilize your metadata. So right here, that metadata, I now have grouped all these progress report fields. So if I want to list my reason for referral, that's all I do. Right now, obviously you'd have tables and you'd have formatting. That's not the purpose of this call. It's really where you can get the information. So again, throughout treatment, people are filling out that meta, and guess what? Now you're going to use it. Okay, you're going to use that information to make it easy for your folks. So that's the use of metadata. Now let's bring in that information, right? Current concerns, background, family information. So what I like to do is I add a import existing. I already have an info page that I like to use. So what I have here, right, is client information section to pull into reports. Look at that. So what it does is this is my background section, and this is all set up for you. Okay, so I recommend having a section in all your reports that has these critical pieces of information. And now what are these little buttons? This is how you get the information. This little learn button, all it's going to pull is the description, right? And what is that really giving you? You're pulling the description from, let's go to Matt Storm's learning tree and just show you real quick. This learning tree right here, the description of discharge, the description of medical necessity, those things right there. So again, if we're back here, I'm pulling all the description to make it easy for my folks, right? So right off the bat, by your use of basics and meta, and then your use of learning tree fields, you've started your report. Okay, again, you're gonna have to customize and put some tables and all that jazz, okay? But next up, okay, assessment sections. A lot of folks need sections for assessments, VB-MAP, ABLS, Vineland, HELP, right, different ones. So what I have is, again, I have existing sections that are already customized for my liking, okay? So if I click it, right, now I go down and I have ABLS information. ABLS information. So look at this. My company, let's pretend, needs to report on certain assessments. One of it being ABLS. The cool part is that if I don't use it, my consultant can delete it. Let's watch one more. Let's do the Vineland. Okay, so I'm going to go through my stuff. I'm going to find V, right? Bear with me while I scroll down. Vineland or VB-MAP. I click it and notice the section comes to my report. Okay, now going back to the ABLS, I want to talk about color prompting. I love doing color prompting. What that means is the consultant that's filling this out later on is going to have a section. One, if they didn't do the ABLS, they're going to delete it. Two, if they did, they get prompted. So most people end up deleting the green, right, and following the directions. that was in the green, right? So by putting any sort of information here, the consultant that's filling this out has an action item, a call to action is what we call it, where they have to do something. No one's going to leave bright green in their report. They're going to read it, learn, and then delete it. The other thing I like to do is when having a text area, I use textual prompts, right? It makes sense for newbies of what they are supposed to write. So for example, if this is just a summary of results, right? Let's get that green out of there just to show you. Okay. Oh, well, I didn't mean to do that, but let's make that white. All right, there we go. So we assume that people know that they should write in the text area. Cool, yeah, it's easy. But what do they write? They need to be objective. They need to have a starting point. So textual prompts here are examples, right? You know, in this box, write about the scores on section A, B, and C. If a deficit, please explain why. Write this, that, and the other thing, right? And so what happens is when they go to fill this out, they're going to know what to write, okay? So I love the use of color, and I love the use of my textual prompts in my text areas, okay? So now we've gotten through a lot, right? Background, some demographics, our assessments. Now we get to the data in the graphs section, okay? The data in the graph section. What this means is we are going to have a section for mastered goals, right? So if I come in, let me just do this, new section, right? This is going to be mastered goals, okay? And then what we do is we do something like this. A lot of insurances are wanting a list of mastered goals. So what I do is I use a little learn single list report, and I allow the user to click all their mastered goals. And I like to customize it with something like this. We're going to want the name of that goal that was mastered. We're going to want the date initiated, and we're going to want the date mastered, right? And so what I do is I use these little fields here, date initiated, date mastered, okay? And what happens is when this comes out, you're going to have a nice long list of your mastered goals. And we're going to go through when I run the report what that looks like, okay? So now we have demographics, background, assessments, mastered. Let's go to new goals, right? So let's do new goals. I'm going to have a new section, and this section is going to be my, let's do current goals actually, okay? And now here's the exercise where I'm going to try to show you how to make it from a Word doc, okay? And so hopefully you can see this Word doc here. Now, why I'm doing this exercise is that people come to us and they say, make my report look like this, right? We've mastered it. We know what Magellan needs. It needs to look like this. And that's awesome. We like seeing that. So we try to replicate it, and we try to train you so that you are empowered to do this in the system. So here is a very common example. I just made this yesterday just to kind of show you. People come to us and they want their goals broken down like this, right? With some variation, of course. Domain, program, right? Goal, which is kind of like an ultimate goal. Date introduced, current level, right? Meaning 2 color stimuli out of 4 are mastered. And then they tell us they need a cumulative graph. They need a cumulative count because their insurance needs to know that in January they mastered 1, in February they mastered 2, and in April they mastered 1, right? So this is a great graph that you can get in CentralReach. Then they want the targets, right? So we know we've mastered 2 out of 4, let's say, but which ones? So then we list out the targets, we list out the status, and we list out their baseline compared to their intervention. A lot of insurances are wanting that, right? Your first average of data points, right? Your current, right? Or maybe compare it to a last treatment period, right? So they want this stuff. And then a lot of our clients now are wanting, instead of each target graph, like of course I can put a target graph of red and blue and yellow, they want a combined graph, right? So this one is just, I copy and pasted it, but you know, I didn't put a legend, my bad, but black, let's say, is red, and you know, the gray line is blue, right? And this, of course, doesn't match up. But you know, a lot of people want this, right? And a lot of people want this. So let's take a peek at how I do this very quickly. I need my report to look like this, okay? What do? I come in here, I center it up, I add a progress report field. Long-term, short-term, target. Long-term, remember, we wanted our domain name where I had XXX, right? That is communication, that is adaptive, that is whatever is in your learning tree as your domain. I just need my name. I want that to pull to my report, and to get really fancy, I make it bold. That is this domain. Next up, program, okay? So the program in CentralReach is the short term. So I want program and I want name. Cool. And then there was that table. What was in that table? It was 3 rows, 2 columns. And then what you do is you just kind of stretch this stuff, okay? And what I'm going to put is, let me refer, I know that this one is date, right? And then I just pull it. There we go, date. I pull that, all right? This was your goal name, right? And then this one was, let's see, current level. And then I had a cumulative count. So what I do is I type this out, right? And then I put in my fields. Goal name. How am I going to get that? General details program goal, right? Program goal. And that is back here under tacting, for example. My program name is tacting common objects. My program goal is this thing, okay? So going back to my thing, right? Program goal, my date, right? My date initiated, let's say, is going to be date initiated, right? And my current level is going to be right here. Cumulative out of. Cumulative out of. That's telling the system you want to know that there's 2 out of 4 goals mastered or 1 out of 3 targets mastered, okay? And then what a lot of people like to do is they just go to table properties, they expand the width, they don't know what that means, so they just put 100%. Border, yes. Now it looks nice, okay? That is all I needed for that, except my cumulative graph. Cumulative monthly, okay? Now I'm going fast, but just to show you how quick it can be if you think about it in terms of that Word doc. Get your Word doc, figure out what you want, and put it in CentralReach, right? And then the targets, all we needed was the name, and we wanted the date initiated, right? And we wanted status, right? And then I just pull in again, date initiated, status, status, okay? And then one more item, they wanted that combined graph, right? This combined graph. And so what I do is I don't need a graph for every target. I only need a combined graph. So what I do here is I pull my combined graph, and my report is only going to pull it if it has a combined graph, which is great, okay? That little button right there gives you what you need in your Word doc, and it just repeats, right? So your Word doc starts at domain X, program, targets, then it goes to, you know, right, the next program, targets, next program, targets, then domain 3, 4, 5, 6. That's how I do it. Now, the other thing I like to show is I have a pre-made sample, and I use this with a few of my larger groups that want to save some time, is you import something that can work for both your initial plan and your progress report, Okay, so what I did here was there's a section that I can use. So instead of having one initial treatment plan template and then one progress report, you can combine them, right? And I use this with a lot of my folks, right? So if the user gets to the initial treatment plan, it prompts them, use this button for your initials, right? And then use this section for progress reports. Delete this sentence if you're going to do a initial. And so these little things are different, right? One is going to have graphs for progress reports. One's just going to have baseline data and instructions for initials. So it's a dual section that you can put in your treatment plan or your progress report and make it one cool big template. Okay, and then of course, you know, my last section, right? I mean, maybe not my last, this would be behaviors, right? And all I do is I drop in something like this. And again, it's what you want, right? It's what you need in your report. So usually here, I really just want a little thing that says, you know, goal for behaviors, right? And then I want my targets. And in the targets, where I might customize is I'm going to drop in that function, right? I'm going to drop in that mastery criteria, things like that. Okay, so that's only the difference for behaviors. And then a lot of people do like to just have one of the data graphs pull in as well. Okay, so this is a very quick version, right? But using sections that you have some of them pre-saved to combine to any new insurance. If a new insurance throws something at you, you're all set, right? If you come in here and a new insurance comes to you and says, well, we don't care about the school information. You better not be providing in schools. We're not going to pay for that. Then you come in and you delete it, right? Or you use one of those color prompts, right? So someone just asked this, Don, what I might do here is I might say, you know, this is my school info, right? But I'm only going to use it. And all I do to pick that background color is I highlight, background color, pick it, and there it comes, right? And with instructions, delete if insurance doesn't want it. Okay, so that's a little bit of how you do that. And then of course the text prompts, I put in a text area, right? And I could say something like, in this box, type the teacher, the school's address, and the IEP coordinator, right? And that gives them a little insight of what they should put, okay? So that is how to make a treatment plan. And I didn't time myself. I actually meant to. And of course, this isn't formatted perfectly and stuff, right? But it took me, I think, 12 minutes, right? And so again, this section is usually the hardest for people. Think about what you need, organize it in a Word doc, and then let us help you get it to where you want, okay? All right, so let me, there's a question, progress date instead of the date initiated. The initiated date is the date we created it, not the date we actually started working on it. Great question, Melissa. So I'll just click randomly here. In the little learn areas here, date initiated, so date created should be, depending on how you kind of format it, date created is like if I make a branch today that says frequency of hitting, that should be the date that's created. Date initiated should be when you put it in progress. So what most people are doing is they're creating it, but then not putting it in progress, not doing anything. Keep it inactive, okay? And then that would work for the in progress. It should. We can talk offline about that, okay? All right, so that's how to make a treatment plan. I made it in 12 minutes with a little bit of formatting. If you had these saved sections, you're good to go, right? I have my Vineland section, I have my able section, I have my background section, okay? And of course, now I have my current goals section. Save these so you can use them in different progress reports. Okay, and lastly, we are gonna run it, right? It's time to run this, right? And show you how it all works. We're not really gonna use this one. I'm gonna use my fancy one to show you just how cool it can be, okay? So let me get out of here, right? Let me get out of here. Let me go to contacts. Matt Storm. He's my kiddo for today. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to follow 3 questions. And those of you that have talked to me before and seen me on demos and probably have heard this, but there's 3 things to write a report. 3 questions you ask yourself, right? You go to your contacts, you say, all right, who am I doing something for today? That's question 1. I'm doing something for Matt. Okay, what am I doing for Matt? What am I here to do today? I'm here to do a note. That's step 2. What note, right? Am I doing an old one or a new one? I'm doing a new one, okay? And then you pick it. So 3 questions. Who are you doing it for? What are you there to do? And then what note, okay? And then you're here. If you can dumb it down to those 3 questions, your consultants are going to be incredibly pleased with the ease of the system. Who, what, which one? And then you just fill it out. And with your prompts, and with the saved information, you should run a progress report in under 30 minutes, okay? You start from the top, you go to the bottom. What do I do first? Delete, delete, delete. I did not do the VB map. Delete, okay? I did not do the Vineland. Delete. So your other insurance reports, cool, you did them, they're here. This one, I didn't do it, I deleted it. So right there, I saved myself some time, and as an administrator, I made one template that can fit all my needs. Then I start from the top, right? Prompts, right? Buttons, date of birth is there, age is there, right? Address is there. Insurance ID should be there. I'm just lazy and I didn't fill out Matt's. Caregiver, right? He doesn't have any additional contacts. Cool. The great thing about these gray fields, guys, for you newbies is if you don't use them, you lose them, right? Whatever that saying is, but you don't have to fill it in, or you can just type it in, right? So worst case, I have to go back and fill out additional contacts. My diagnosis is here, right? My physician, I actually could have stored that. Let me show you a couple others. You fill out the boxes, right? This one has a lot of different check boxes and stuff like this. Diagnosis again, right? You click your boxes, right? And then you go on to the next page. We're at our first spot where we save some information. Allergies, yes. Allergy, banana, right? Reaction, itchiness, that's saved, okay? Current medications, yes, right? Name of prescribing doctor. That's one of those textual prompts, right? I can type in based on my prompt, okay? Just a little table for you. Notice it's auto-saving. Auto-saves every minute. Biopsychosocial, let's find something that's saved in the system. I don't really have any on this page, so I'm going to just for time's sake. Okay, cool. Matt attends pre-K at Hinder Creek Elementary. How is that there? Well, I saved it and I set up my metadata. School name, Happy Days Elementary. I set it up in metadata, right? I don't have to go look through the files, right? I just click, okay? Now, these are great drop downs. I like this, right? Treatment, how often, results. We're coming down to 9 minutes, so promise I'll get you out at the turn of the hour, right? So speech, drop down, previous, right? How often, daily, right? Duration, 30 minutes, right? You can just do those little drop downs, all right? Pretty cool. Next page, again, it's auto saving, right? Cool. A color prompt, right? At least 2 observations are required. Yeah, I delete it, okay? Sample, a brief paragraph about stuff, right? It's prompting me, okay? And then this one, current concerns. Ooh, this is where it gets fun, guys. Do I write them? Matt is not very good at handwriting. Boo-hoo, right? No, I don't write it. I click it. I click my current concerns, right? I want to save time. There it is. Click, and there's the rest of them, right? Discharge, medical necessity, right? Click. Look at that, right? And I filled that out during my supervision visits, okay? It's all set up and I can tweak it, right? I can still tweak. Right, the Vineland, it's deleted, right? Next one, Abel's, right, again, I delete this stuff if I wanted to. Preference assessment, type that stuff in. Summary of progress, one more example of this. Summary of progress is saved right there, pop, okay? The key here, and I don't work for insurance, and you can take my advice or you can leave it. You have billable time during consults, during supervision, during direct shifts. You meet with a family, you're billing, you're going over summary of progress during that billable time. Why not write it during one of those visits instead of right here that is not paid, right? Just some feedback, right? And it's so easy, and your consultants are going to love doing this report because it's organized. They know what they're supposed to do. They get to the treatment plan section, and this is hours of work before CentralReach and before some of these tips. Hours of work. You go through that binder, you look at all your goals, you look at the dates, you calculate the baseline, you grab 5 of those data points, average them together to get that score. Then you go to your most recent week, you average those 7 days. You know, that's a lot of work. Here, you simply click, okay? And I'm gonna click a couple for you. I'm gonna do my weighting goals, right? All the rest are junk. You're not gonna get any graphs. So I got my weighting goals, and these are junk, right? So I have the flexibility of taking away the junk. I'm going to do my tacting goals, right? And I'm going to not report on some of, I just have very bad examples to, so I'm going to give you stuff with data, okay? There we go, common objects, that's fine. So I'm going to report on tacting, weighting, what time period. For those pros out there, you know this, right? You pick a time period and then you populate. Now, what is going to pull? Well, whatever you set up your template to be. And look at how much time I saved. Tacting, goal name, goal status, mastery criteria, goal summary, rationale, right? This is my informal program name. This is more my rationale, okay? First target, baseline, current, phase, text area to write. Remember, if you don't type it in, it goes away, so it's cool. Graph, next one, graph, next program, same information, just the second program in tacting, graph, 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 right? And then, you know, I have a bunch of stuff, right? And what happens if you forget to put stuff? This is what happens, guys, right? It's not the end of the world. You just type your mastery. That's what they're doing in Microsoft Word right now anyway, right? So worst case, they forget to do it, and then there they go, okay? Waiting, 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 right? And these are my mini little graphs, right? I don't think I actually told you how to do that, but what you do is when you add a graph, you put it in a table, a one row, one column box, and then you can change around the side, okay? I think I have one little thing left to show you about behaviors, because this is cool. A lot of people are coming in here. They have to put a behavior section, right? Likely maintaining variables, behaviors targeted. What I like to do is I have my header for my table right here, and I match up this little box. And let me go pick some goals for you. Targets, I'm going to pick my hitting and my tantrum, right? I'm going to pick tantrum, hitting, and I'm going to drag these in. And look what happens. Duration of tantrum, very prompted for me, right? It pulls in my function, my antecedents. Oh, beautiful. Consequences, beautiful, right? And then I go on with my work, right? You have a behavior, I have another section or two to show, but it's about to be end of the hour. So, so this is probably where I'll stop. But really what this does is it gives you a nice, oh, actually, I see a question. I'll get that in just one sec. But Matt, it goes here and it goes to his file cabinet. Okay. And then it's a file and you can share it and you can do everything else, right? It's a very nice looking file. Let's download it, show you the finished product. Right, there we go. Perfect page numbers, right? I have some page breaks in there as well before the sections, right? And just, you know, this report is available to you. It's in the beta section, okay, of your notes and forms, and you can tweak the heck out of it, right? We're there to make life easier, but if you don't like some stuff, delete it, right? You see that, you know, I didn't delete some of those, but show you the graphs. There we go. Okay, so really what I wanted to go over was, you know, how they look, right? How to get them to look like that, not formatting, bolding, underlying, right? But like where to house your critical information to go from 3 hours to 30 minutes, right? And it's reasonable to get that. And that's what CentralReach is here for. So hopefully you had some things that at least, you know, oh, maybe I can include that, or oh, that's cool, right? Or to some of you, like really thinking about how to streamline. The biggest piece of advice I can give is, you know, consistency, right? Templates, you know, whether it's learning tree templates or little note templates or prompts, you want things to be consistent so that the consultant can individualize, right? Tell them what they need to give and then let them give that individualized goal and data, right? So that's just a little bit there. All right, and so just wanted to kind of talk about some resources real quick for you. Let me just share this screen real quick, go back to this one. All right, so some resources. We have marketplace training courses, notes and forms training courses, and we have a help site, and we have clinical open office hours weekly. So what you can do is, the first thing I would actually do, guys, is I would go to the marketplace and I would just go to CentralReach filter on the left side. There is a note and form link there, and it goes over a lot of this. It's made by my colleague Nick and Kim, and they did a great job on that course. The help site's always there, and of course you can sign up for the Open Office Allies to get some free training. Okay, so hopefully that helps you guys. Let me just jump in and get some questions real quick for you. All right, so let's see. Let me just see here. So we are done. If you want to hop off, that's fine. I'm just going to answer some remaining questions. Okay, let's see. Okay, so typically the combined graph will never pull. Awesome. Okay, what that means, the combined graph will pull if you put it in the, so what happens is combined graphs have to be a certain combined branch. So if you have a combined branch and then on your template you're actually asking for the combined graph and click that target, it will pull. If you do any of those things differently, it won't. So for example, if you don't have a combined branch, nothing will pull. If you have a combined branch that's not in progress, nothing will pull. And if you put a data graph and are expecting just to pull your combined, that's not going to work because you have to drop in a combined graph, and I can go over that separately if needed. I did record, so I'm going to upload it, and then you guys should get a notice of that. Can you show the learn drop-in templates note and form? Yes, I will do that in one sec, and then let's see. One more question. So we have to put the short-term goal in progress in order to pull them into the note. Yes, exactly. So what happens, guys, is let me just do this real quick. Let me jump this over here. Perfect. If you can still see this, I think you might be able to. So this is our marketplace. Someone wanted me to show this, and it's so great. This marketplace here, it's a type CentralReach training. We have all sorts of courses here, right? Practice management manual, account setup, right? But this one right here, Note and Forms, is going to give you a heck of a lot of information about how to do these ins and outs, okay? And then one other thing that someone mentioned, if I go into my learning tree real quick, guys, this learning tree, let's just go here. There's a difference between blue and gray, okay? So parent goals, this is a fake book, but this is gray, it's not active. Nothing in this section will pull to your progress reports. So you need to come in, make it in progress, right? And now it's in progress, meaning parent goals will. So if you have goals that are future, right, that they're inactive, what I would recommend, guys, is if this is a future goal, just put it on hold, okay? And then update it. Now that will pull to your progress report picker. So you kind of just put some stuff on hold instead of leaving it inactive, okay? All righty. Okay, and yeah, any specifics like combined stuff we can definitely go over. So I'm going to put on my I'm going to put my email here for you guys, and I definitely went over the hour. I'm so sorry, but I just typed my email up above. But it's gpocket@centralreach.com. And again, I appreciate everything. Hopefully these tips helped you, and hopefully we can streamline your processes and make any report you need in the system. Okay. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.